Our predictions have been spot on so far this season. Stay with us on the Integrity Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, sports administrators, and sports personalities. Thanks for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Now here's your host, Tim Estes.
We are on site at the Roman Oven Pizzeria. We'd love to have you come by and join us, Scott. We've already had a good crowd tonight. And every week on Thursdays here at the Roman Oven, we invite you to come out and eat with us. And at 7:15, we talk a lot of high school football. I'm your host, Tim Estes, joined each week by my good friend, Scott Westrook. And our program is brought to you each week in part by Harper's Tree and Stump Removal. If you have any tree trimming, tree removal, or stump removal needs, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal has you covered. They can haul rock and sand, they do driveway work, and can now do horizontal grindings of large wood debris piles. Give Keith a call at 229-314-2048 or at 229-938-2412. We'd like to thank Harper's Tree and Stump Removal for being the premier sponsor of the Integrity Sports Podcast. We are entering week 7 of the high school football season here in Southwest Georgia. And Scott, you and I, we do enough research each week. And by this point, we kind of know these teams, their coaches, some of the players and administrators. So we get a pretty good idea every week before we get to this point to know what to expect or what's most likely to happen. And so far, our predictions this year have been pretty much spot on.
Right. We also keep, pretty close watch on the injury reports from one week to the next. And, Tim, I think we might be missing the boat a little bit. We need to have some sort of subscription service for all the degenerate gamblers out there who may want to gamble on high school sports. And we sit there and, if you want our picks, you have to pay like $6.99 or something like that for that.
You may be on to something there. We may have to try to do that. Last week couldn't have gone any better in what we predicted here on our show. Won a blowout over Shaw. Southland Academy upset Tift area, and I think both you and I felt like Southland would win that game. I don't think either one of us would have guessed it would have been as bad as it was.
No, I'm able to figure that. We were talking about it a good bit before the show, and testing the waters on each other. And I think you were going to see if I was going to pick them, and vice versa. But we both had a gut feeling on that one, and it came through. But like you said, the needle went a little harder than we thought it would.
And then, Scott, we couldn't have been any more right on Sly County. We felt like the Sly Crawford game would be close until late at the end, and we felt like good coaching on the part of Sly County would be the difference, and it turned out a turnover at the end was the difference.
The same thing that snake bit them against Macon County turnovers. Crawford County's got to clean up those turnovers. I feel like, thankfully we got them early in the season as opposed to late in the season when they start cleaning those turnovers up.
Let's get started this week with Sly County. The Cats found a way late in the fourth quarter to defeat Crawford County by a score of 28-21. That makes Sly County 3-3 so far on the season. They are 2-0 in region play. And Scott, as this region unfolds, I think you and I are pretty clear that there's a top 3 probably, and then everybody else.
Yeah, everybody else is going to be fighting for that number 4 spot. And this week's game is going to establish the pecking order a little bit more. You sit there and you think about what the Macon Sly County game has meant in the past few years, and the gates at those games. I don't think we're going to see anything similar to what we've seen the past 3 or 4 years in that arena, but it's still a heated rivalry, and it can go either way.
The next 2 games for Sly County, I think, are going to determine the region champion. This week, the Cats host Macon County. Macon County is only 2-4 overall, but don't let that fool you. They're 2-0 in play. And Scott, those preseason games, much like Sly County, have been against really quality opponents.
That is true, and also they're non-region games. Also, they schedule some quality opponents in the non-region on their non-region schedule, and just like Darren Alford has always done, they do that to be strong late in the season.
So Scott, let's take a quick look at some stat matchups. Offensively, if you look at Sly County, thrown for 427 yards on the season. They've rushed for 948. That's a total of 1,375 yards. If you flip the script and look at Macon County has thrown for 901 yards. That's twice as many as Sly County. They've rushed for 1,220. So where Sly's at 1,375 total, Macon County is at 2,120. Probably going to give the nod to Macon County on the offensive side of the ball.
Most assuredly, and like I said, you said it also. They've had a common opponent with Crawford County, but their non-region schedule and early in the season they played some pretty formidable opponents, and still.
On the defensive side of the ball, Macon County is allowing a few more points than Sly County. So I'd probably give the nod on defense to Sly County.
I think so. And I think the defensive backs for Sly County are definitely going to be tested because Macon County is not going to change their game plan just because Sly's kind of had a more of a lockdown defense this year. I think that they will those defensive backs will be tested, and more importantly, the defensive linemen, and they're going to have to get back there and pressure the quarterback and cause some interceptions from that end.
And you mentioned this a little earlier about how much of a rivalry this game has become. I know over about a 3 or 4 year stretch there when Sly County was having their really good run, your son was here playing. No matter what the records were of those two teams, when they got together, it was going to be a competitive matchup.
I remember, my son's junior year, which would have been the 2022 season, I believe. That game was the game of the week. It was Sly and Macon County, and Sly just came out like their hair was on fire and jumped on them 14-0 or 21-0 or something before their offense even got on the field, before Macon County's offense even got on the field, and it just hard for them to get out of that hole they were in because Sly County had scored quickly, and then after fumble, and then Sly County drove. So before their offense they were down 2 scores, and that's tough in high school football.
Scott, you and I put numbers together every week, and as I was going through putting together offensive and defensive numbers, I would give Macon County the nod. But when you look at the Maxwell rating systems, and they have this mathematical formula that figures in a whole bunch of stats, more than we really look at. But Macon County, or rather Sly County, is favored this week under the Maxwell rating systems by 7 points. So we'll talk a little more about that toward the end of the show, but do know going in that Maxwell ratings has Sly County as a 7-point favorite.
I think also they take into consideration who's the home team in a lot of times situation. Also, they give a little more weight to that than probably you and I do.
We are at the Roman Oven Pizzeria. We're back in the VIP room. So if you're coming this way, just get in, say hello to us, and make plans to join us each Thursday evening at 7:15 here at the Roman Oven. Our show is also brought to you today by our friends at Carter's Fried Chicken. They're located at 206 Tripp Street in Americus. Owner Mike Shaddles and his staff have been feeding Southwest Georgia for more than 30 years. They offer daily lunch specials featuring baked or fried chicken. They have plenty of vegetables and some awesome desserts. Carter's Fried Chicken is a supporter of all of our local area teams and wishes everyone the best of luck this season. Thanks again to Carter's Fried Chicken for sponsoring this segment of the Integrity Sports Podcast. So we hit on Southland, or rather Sly County. Let's move on to Southland Academy. Southland, for the second week in a row, had a dominant performance in a 56-20 thumping of Tipped Area Academy.
We both picked Southland to win that game, but I don't think anybody anticipated this game to be this lopsided. I mean, it's just it seems that Southland is on an upward trajectory right now. They're doing everything right. They're staying healthy. They're buying into the program, and Tift area just I think got caught maybe underestimating what Southland had.
I think you're right. And you and I patted the offensive line on the back last week. These guys again showed up this week, showed up and showed out. The defensive line, they gave no ground game to Tift area. And I know Coach Holiday likes to throw the football, and that's what he's known for. But if you really analyze his teams in the past that have been successful, he's been pretty balanced. And Southland took the ground game away from him. So kudos to all those guys up front on the offensive and defensive lines for Southland Academy. They did a great job in the trenches. Jamarcus Walker, one of Southland's running backs, was held out in the second half. I think injury is going to be a long, tight recovery, but I know Southland was concerned about Jamarcus Walker. Allen Stick really stepped up and ran the football well. He has for 2 or 3 weeks in a row now. And, Scott, they're going to count on him again this week.
Well, and the fact that the game was a boat race by the point that Jamarcus maybe, had got hurt, you gave the coaches the freedom and flexibility to say, hey, let's just rest and let's get him ready for next week. Let's not take any unnecessary risk here. And like you said, Allen stepped up and showed out, which is exactly what he needed to do and exactly what Southland has missed out on the past few years.
When you got a shifty, really quick guy, and then 2 guys like Jamarcus Walker and Allen Stick, both with great speed, that's a weapon to have at this level of high school football.
As many heads as you can put on your offensive monster, that's what you got to have.
And, another thing that's been interesting, Scott, that you and I have talked to some folks that say, those guys up front, they may not make a certain block, but they know where to go. They fully bought into this wing T system. And even though they may not make a block on a certain play, they're in a spot where they're getting in somebody's way, and all they need is that split second.
That's it. It's just a timing and just repetitive and then like I said, it took about a year for them to get comfortable with it, and they're comfortable with it, and the results are showing on the scoreboard.
This week, they take on former Southland head coach Jack Harris, who has returned to Terrell Academy as their head coach. They come in with a record of 3 wins and 2 losses. Last week, Terrell had a tough one against Deerfield Windsor, and I think whoever plays Deerfield Windsor this year is going to have a tough one. But Deerfield won that one 34-0. This one has got the makings of an excellent high school football game. Southland and Terrell Academy, and there's a lot of plot lines in this one, Scott, and I want to talk about this a little bit. I would imagine Jack Harris coming back to Southland Academy, he feels like he's got something to prove. Chance Jones, the coach at Southland now, I think in the back of his mind, he wants to prove we've made progress. So you got really that plot line of the 2 coaches, both of whom are very good, going up against each other. So it's going to be a fun matchup. Here's an interesting thing, Scott. Maxwell Rating Systems has Southland as a 12-point favorite.
And once again, I think a lot of that plays into who the home team is. I think they weigh it more heavily just because they may not have all the stats they would like to on these teams. But this game, and we cannot emphasize this enough. If you're on the fence of whether you should go to the game tomorrow night or not, go.
Yeah.
Go. If you're a Southland fan, go. You want to sit there, and if those boys come out of the locker room, they see a packed house, they see standing room only, suddenly that ratchets up a little bit of a motivation, a little bit more adrenaline for them to realize that this is a high-stakes game.
We hope you're watching tonight on any platform. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure and join us online. You can comment, and we'll be able to see that. I want to say hello to my wife, Tammy Estes, who is watching right now. She came and ate supper with us and headed back home. Tonight's show is also brought to you in part by our friend Marty McDonald at the Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance Agency. They're located at 925 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard in Americus. go by and see Marty, Mary Lynn, or any of their staff and let them discuss your insurance needs. They can even do the famous discount double check to make sure you're receiving all of the savings that are available to you. Look them up on Facebook or call them at 928-3686. Again, to Marty McDonald State Farm. And remember, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Want to say hello to Caitlin Gooden, who just texted us and said she's watching. Glad to have you. Make sure and tell your friends, whatever platform you're watching this on, like and share the video with them. Scott, we've gone over Sly County. We've gone over Southland Academy. Both of those teams had good wins last week. That gets us to the Sumter County High School Panthers, who moved to 5-0 with a 55-7 blowout win over Shaw. Will Rogers and the Panthers will host Jordan High tomorrow. Some call it Jordan. We call it here in Southwest Georgia, Jordan.
I think they call it Jordan in Columbus.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Jordan comes in with a record of no wins, 5 losses, and Scott, they may very well be the worst high school football team out of all the Columbus schools.
Yeah. Jordan has not been a powerhouse in really baseball, football, anything in a while. And one of the things that I can't help but think, just a few years ago, this would have been a game we'd have been wringing our hands over trying to figure out who's going to win.
Yeah.
But it's ever since Will Rogers and it's just instilled a whole new attitude, a whole new work ethic, a whole new culture at Sumter County. This is a no-brainer. I mean, this is one that if you're going to bet your mortgage on, this is the one to do it on.
I think you're right. Before we get into the high school matchup, I do want to say this. I got a chance to check in on the middle school, Sumter Middle School this week. They are also having an incredible year. Got to talk with Coach Jonathan Gooden, and he hopes to be here in the next couple of weeks, and he'll give us a rundown on the middle school Panthers. But it's not just the high school team. It trickles down to that middle school team. And, man, Coach Will Rogers and Coach Jonathan Gooden, they've got this thing going on. Scott, Sumter County jumped from number 9 in the rankings last week to, in the coaches poll, they're now number 4. If you look at the Georgia High School Daily poll, they moved from number 9 to number 8 in Class AA. So they're starting to get a little love from the pollsters, and I think that's well deserved. After this Jordan game, the Panthers then will go back to Columbus to take on Spencer. Spencer's down a little bit. They're 2-3 this year. But then on October the 10th, the number 1 Carver Tigers come to town.
That I mean, Coach Will Rogers is he's not telling his kids that game's on the horizon, but in his head, and I guarantee you, in him and the assistants game prep and all that kind of stuff, they're interjecting things, getting ready. You got two games to tune up your offense, your defense a little bit, and then you got the big game. So I mean, that I think that the players don't need to look past either opponent. They need to go ahead and do it, get your business done, get it knocked out early, but let some of those younger guys get in there and play, get some experience time, and stay healthy and be ready for the game coming up in a couple of weeks.
I saw on social media this week, Scott, where Sumter County linebacker Kendall Thomas got his first offer from Huntington College over in Montgomery. They're an NCAA Division III school, so congratulations to Kendall Thomas on that. I'm sure that's going to be the first of many offers coming his way. We've been down on Jordan because they haven't won much. They went 0-10 in 2023. They went 1-9 last year, and so far they're 0-5 this year. But how bad are they? Well, they've only scored 1 touchdown in each of their games, other than a 21-point performance against Chatco, who we know is also down. Sly County's already played Chatco. In Chatco, the game against Chatco, they scored 21, but they lost the game to Chatco, who's also 1-4. And they got boat raced nearly every week. Having watched Sumter County myself last week, this team is absolutely loaded with talent. I tell you what my fear is at this point. My fear is they've been blowing everybody out so much. do they get to playoff time and they're not battle tested?
Well, they'll be battle tested in a couple of weeks, and the thing is you got to play the teams that you've got in your region. And Columbus has always been kind of a funny little town when it comes to baseball and football. You know, when Columbus High School was such a baseball powerhouse, none of the rest of the schools in Columbus really had much to go on. Well, now Carver's a football powerhouse, and all the rest of the teams in Columbus. I mean, other than you, Brookstone, you, Pacelli, it's hard to throw them in there in the mix, but you know, all the other teams, the Shaws, the Spencers, the Kendricks, and the Northside, they're all struggling. They're all struggling. So I mean, it's weird that a town that size that just seems to have a vacuum of talent that just migrates to one school during the runs, you know. And so we'll just see what happens. I mean, I know that Carver stacked. I know that Sumter County stacked. Sumter County to get out this in the next game with respectable victories, no injuries, and hopefully contest a few things they want to try against Carver.
Here's something crazy. We look at Maxwell ratings every week to see who's favored and what the point spread is. The highest point spread of the week is the Sumter County game. They favor Sumter County by 55 points over Jerry.
And Sumter County can easily do that. Whether they do it or not, I mean, because Will Rogers is going to probably conserve a lot of his athletes, try to keep them healthy. So I mean, really and truly, when the game gets to 21-0, it's over.
Yeah,
I mean that's it. So
You're watching the Integrity Sports Podcast, and we are live at the Roman Oven Pizzeria here every Thursday night, starting at 7:15. We always focus on Sumter County, Sly County, and Southland Academy. We also, near this point of the show each week, talk about a few other area schools. Crisp County, boy, they lost another tough one last week, Scott. They lost 21-14, I think it was, to Swainsboro, who was 5-0 coming in. Justin Newman over at Crisp County has played just a gauntlet of a schedule, and in all the games except for one. I think Fitzgerald was the only team that kind of spread out the point spread. They've competed with everybody else, but Crisp is 1-5. Got a deserved open week this week.
They do. Hopefully they can right the ship and finish strong the last half of the season. Because you losing these close games right here, it's tough to get your kids motivated sometimes.
Speaking of Crisp County, we want to make sure for the next few weeks and remind you of this. Their FFA is having a mattress sale that'll take place on Sunday, November the 2nd. It'll be held in the Crisp County High School gym. They'll have twin size mattresses for as low as $199, full size for $249, queen sizes from $299, and king size mattresses from $399. If you'd like more information on this mattress sale, you can text CRISP FFA to 737-200-5923. Once again, text CRISP FFA to the number 737-200-5923. That takes us over to your neck of the woods in Taylor County. Taylor County is now 3-2 after they skint up Marion County last week by a score of 54-0. This week, the Vikings have an open week, and Scott, I'm not so sure I like it for them. If I were Leland Holder, their quarterback, I know I wouldn't like it because he's having such an exceptional year throwing the football.
Before the season started, we talked about the receivers that Taylor County had, the ones, the Chan Lumpkin, who's to Tulane, and some of the others. But the question mark was, they have a quarterback that can get it to them. That was the big question mark. Well, last week that question was answered with a resounding yes. Leland Holder is really coming into his own. He is just doing phenomenal. There's just the videos you see on Facebook that so many of the Taylor County fans are posting. I mean, it's just it really looks like a high-powered offense that Leland's heading there, and he's got, like I said, got some great receivers. Last week he was. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think he threw for a school record last week. Is that right?
He did. Single game record. He went 18 for 27, 3 touchdowns. He had 28 yards rushing, but more importantly, he threw for 413 yards.
Wow.
So, when you sit there and you think, I mean, these are high school kids and all that kind of stuff. There was probably a couple of drop passes there too. That figure could have been a whole lot more, But he's ranked number 4 in Georgia right now with 1,318 total yards and 10 touchdowns. So, Leland Holder is like I said, coming into his own. He's going to start getting some looks. Putting up these kind of numbers. He has just hit a growth spurt. Good-looking kid, great kid, good grades, just real respectful. Just everything that these college coaches want.
So they're 3-2, 5 games in. He's thrown for 1,300 plus yards.
Yes, 10 touchdowns.
So coaches, if you're watching this, you need to take a look at Leland Holder. Lee County, Scott, another interesting story. Lee County is 4-1. Last week had the forfeit from North Florida Educational Institute and Nursing Center. And they'll travel this week to Thomasville to take on Thomas County Central, the Yellow Jackets. Thomas County Central's 5-0. They're ranked number 1 in 5A. They've gotten some national attention as well. TCC going into this is a 20-point favorite over Lee County. I don't know that I've seen that in years.
No, and Thomas County Central, you get on some of these high school message boards on Facebook and look at what everybody's saying. They look at this as going to be a kind of a signature or benchmark game for them. They know if they go in and take Lee County to the woodshed, all those national polls will take notice. And they've seen them beat teams, they're like, okay, we know about that team. But they go in and beat Lee County, which I think they are going to. Lee County still has a quarterback that's only got really 1 game under his belt at Lee County. He's got experience somewhere else, but not with this team. I just think that Thomas County Central, this is going to be one. If I were going to be here tomorrow night, I had nothing else to do, even where I live, I would drive down there. And I think a lot of people are going to do that, especially from that corner of the state. The ones that may have teams that are off tomorrow night, or teams that have maybe already their playoff hopes are out the window at this point. I think a lot of people are going to show up for that game.
So you're going to go with Thomas County Central. That's your pick.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. I'm going to be with Scott. I think Thomas County Central is the real deal here in 2025. Lee County is very well coached. They've got well over 100. They're very deep. Thomas County Central, I think, will win. I'm not sure the 20-point favorite is accurate. We'll see how that falls out, but I think Thomas County Central wins it. Here, Scott, in our neck of the woods and our level of ball, Marion County, who's currently 0-5, they'll host Chatco, who's 1-4. Maxwell Rating Systems has this one at a 4-point Marion County favorite. What do you think?
I think this is the game in the region where the teams are playing first-round draft pick for number 1 draft pick for next year, and I'm gonna have to go with Chatco just because after Marion County went to Taylor County, I feel for the players, I feel for the fans. It's going to be hard to get them up after a game like that. I think Chatco, even with their struggles, I think they're still playing motivated football, and I think that may tip the scales.
I think I'm going to go with Chatco as well. Here's why. When you look at all of Marion County's games, they've been able to compete through the first quarter. Mm-hmm. After that first quarter, the spread starts to get even more. Mm-hmm. Chatco, on the other hand, has been very well tested. They've already played some really good teams. They haven't won. They've competed for more than a quarter. I think Chatco, because of the schedule leading up to this point, will find a way to win against Marion County. That gets us to prediction time, and we have been pretty good on these 3 teams. I think I've got 1 and you got 2 losses on you. So this deep into the season, Scott, we've done a pretty good job on predicting this. Let's start with Sly County as they host Macon County. Who do you like?
I'm going to go with Sly County on this one. That's a tough one to call, but I'm like Maxwell. I'm going to give the nod to the home team. I think Macon County feel like they got robbed in Crawford County, and they beat. I forget what team I was going to cite for Macon County, but the thing is, I'm going to go with Sly County home team. They're playing steadily getting better, it seems, each week, and I think this will be a good benchmark for them.
I'm going to be opposite of Scott on this one. I felt like Sly would take that one last week. Looking at who Macon County's played and comparing offensive and defensive numbers, right now, I just think it's too heavy on the Macon County side. I'm going to go with Macon County in this one. So Scott and I will see next week who wins that one. And it's going to be a good game regardless. Two very good programs that against each other have been extremely competitive. Southland Academy, they'll host Terrell Academy over at the stadium at Southland's Field. So that's Harvey Simpson Stadium. Scott Maxwell's got Southland as a 12-point favorite about Westbrook.
I'm going to go with Southland. I mean, they're steadily getting better each week. I think that this will be a big home game. I'm hoping that the fans will show up and show out. Let those boys hear it, and I think that's because Terrell County is going to travel. So South better have their fans.
I too go with Southland Academy myself. I think two groups and Jack Harris from Terrell Academy and Chance Jones from Southland. Both of these men are good football. I just think Southland, like Scott said, has really bought into what's going on. They're where they need to be. Their offensive and defensive lines for the last 2 weeks have dominated. They're going to have to do that again tomorrow against Terrell Academy. And then guys like Alan Stick and Jamarcus Walker and Grant Rowland and Matt McMichael, some of those skill guys are going to have to make some plays, and I think they will. And I think in the end, Southland Academy gets it. And Scott, this one's pretty easy for us, but let's talk about it anyway. Sumter County hosting the Jordan Red Jackets.
I think what we got to do is make it interesting. We got to predict the point, not just predict who wins. We got to do the point spread. I think that Sumter County will put 55 on.
I do too, and they're a 55-point favorite. I don't think Will Rogers will let it get much more than that. If you look at his teams over the past few weeks, they've scored in the 50s, I think twice in a row now. And then he gets those younger guys in there about the end of the third quarter, first part of the fourth quarter. But I know he feels like those starters need 3 quarters worth of playing time.
Yeah, and they do. And you got to sit there and you can't take your foot off the gas because you're trying to build momentum into that Carver game and eventually into the playoffs.
A.J. Kears has done a good job on both sides of the ball. Quarterback play has gotten a lot better.
Young receivers.
Receivers have gotten a lot better. So Sumter County going to win big tomorrow night over at Alton Schill Stadium. Any closing words? I know you're headed over to the Colorado BYU game this week. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, we're tickled to death. Carson said everybody's had a good week of practice, and we talked to him. We talk to him daily. He's real excited about this game. And then of course you've got a pretty big weekend yourself playing that going to Chicago.
That's right. Going to watch my brother Steve throw out the first pitch at the Chicago Cubs game this week. Be my first ever trip to Wrigley Field, so I'm looking forward to that. So we'll keep up with high school football from way out, and you and I'm sure we'll talk during the week. We want to thank all those folks out in Colorado that are watching us from the training room. Many of you know the Colorado Buffaloes. A lot of times we're a fan of this show. So hello to our friends out in Boulder, Colorado. And we want to thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Please go to our YouTube page and hit the subscribe button. We have picked up a lot of subscribers so far this year. Still haven't reached the 1,000 subscriber mark. Let me tell you this, there's no difference in just watching the show and hitting the subscribe button. We're not going to you up with notifications. It takes one click. So wherever you're watching it looks like we've got about 200 watching right now. Make sure and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Then you can go back to whatever platform you normally watch it on. But we need to hit that 1,000 subscriber mark. Whatever platform you're on, make sure to like and share the video. That's how we count our views. And again, let me thank our sponsors, Harper's Tree and Stump Removal, Carter's Fried Chicken, and Marty McDonald State Farm Insurance. And Scott, let me tell you this, we got a new sponsor that will be coming on board beginning next week. I'm looking forward to making that announcement. But thank you for watching us. Go out.
Is it Lions Den over Dillon?
It is not the
The other day trying to sell a spot to them.
No, not them.
Okay.
Go out and support your local team this week. For Scott Westrook, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. watching us tonight. So long, everybody.